I'm going to bury you next to your father. Those were the bone-chilling words this week on Monday Night Raw as CM Punk and Roman Reigns went face to face ahead of their huge clash at WrestleMania. Whew, I mean, that was a big highlight of what was actually quite a good Raw, to be honest with you, on that road to WrestleMania. And obviously, we've had the return of Seth freaking Rollins at Elimination Chamber. Danhausen debuted as well on Elimination Chamber. And of course, all this has palpitations as we move on to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw this week, well, it kicked off with the Vision, or what's left of Zed Vision. Paul Heyman was going on a rant about the rest of the show not happening until Seth Rollins comes to the ring. Adam Pearce did come to the ring with security, but Jey Uso, they started accusing him of attacking Jey Uso because obviously Jey Uso missed the Elimination Chamber um, at the expense of Logan Paul. Fair enough, who was, of course, eliminated by Cody after being stomped from Seth. Anyway, there was loads of masked men at this point that come running to the ring, and each of them is run off by security. Um, Theory and Logan Paul have left the ring at this point. Paul Heyman is in the ring alone, and another masked man appears behind Paul Heyman, cracks him with the steel chair, curb stomps him into the floor. Yes, it was, of course, Seth freaking Rollins. That was great. They saw him getting into the ambulance. It was driven by LA Knight. Jimmy Uso was there taking out some of the Vision as well. I'm interested to see with this because if Braun Breaker is medically cleared before WrestleMania, I see him and Seth, and then I perhaps see Logan Paul and Austin Theory against the Usos. More on that in a minute because there is a match that happens this week on Raw. So I'm just thinking, do they defend a tag championships against Paul and Theory? Does Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed, probably Braun Breaker out of the two, maybe go against Seth? We'll see. We shall see. Gunther was in action against Dragon Lee this week. I mean, this was a heck of the match. And it was like, quote unquote, pro wrestling match. The smaller guy uses his speed, the bigger guy uses his power. Classic David and Goliath style match here. Um, I still think Gunther is probably the best pound for pound wrestler in the world, in my opinion. Um, I mean, he did murder Dragon Lee in this, but he also at the same time made Dragon Lee look absolutely incredible. Which was, that's a good thing. And it was like when I was criticizing it over the last few weeks. Is Dragon Lee an actual challenger for Gunther? And you know what? He was. It actually really was. It was decent enough for him. We knew that Gunther was going to win. Where does he go from WrestleMania is another thing. We'll get into that in a minute. But the ending of the match had Gunther had him locked in a rear naked choke, and as Dragon Lee was trying to escape, rips off Dragon Lee's mask. Literally, and there was some slow-mo pictures, and there's been pictures of his face that you can see clearly, barring some little paint on his eyes on there, and then Dragon Lee taps. Because of it, Gunther wins by submission. So Gunther wins. Now, we just said about that WrestleMania. Where does that leave Gunther at WrestleMania? And it's an interesting one because at the moment there's really nothing for him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't going to be. I don't think Gunther Rey Mysterio has that WrestleMania oomph. He could challenge Brock Lesnar. However, I think Obafemi's that he could take on Obafemi. I think it would be funny for the Brock Lesnar Open Challenge and have Kit Wilson initially come out and challenge Brock. But where is Gunther's WrestleMania path? There's a question for you. Where do you see Gunther? What's going to happen? with the ring general, the career killer, because that's what he's been. But he's really at the moment. Could he end the career of Rey Mysterio? Is that something that potentially could happen at WrestleMania? You tell us anyway, and we'll also find out. WrestleMania ain't too far away now at all, so should be good over Easter weekend, which is great for us in the UK because we're off for the whole of it. From Vegas, so we can watch anytime really and be happy. AJ Lee was next with her. She's now the championship. She went. If anyone in the lock, basically, if anyone in the locker room, it was wants a shot. Where she is at their favorite wrestler. She wants to see what they've got. It was a solid babyface promo, really, from AJ Lee. The one good thing that I would say about it, and it keeps the crowd guessing, I suppose, as well, is she didn't get interrupted. Now, normally you do this promo, someone would come out, interrupt it, and then later on they'd be booked in some kind of match, and they would win that match, and then we'd be off to the races. The good thing is on this one is that there wasn't. However, there has been a big multi-women's match booked for next week with the winner, I think, facing AJ Lee at WrestleMania. The interesting point of that is at this moment in time, Becky Lynch is not one of them. Make of that what you will. Quite easily happen. We know this. We know there can be a surprise attack and stuff like that. She could get her way into it somehow, but as of right now, she's not. And in that case, I ask you guys another question. If Becky Lynch is not facing AJ Lee for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, who is she facing at WrestleMania? Tell us. Tell us, tell us, tell us. One of the El Grande, well, it was the original El Grande Americano, Jack Gable, against Rayo Americano with El Grande Americano. Um, Look, there is other obviously interference on this, as you could have mentioned, from the other Americanos at ringside, but the Chaos Theory from the OG Grande Americano picks up the victory. I think this is like it was standard stuff on this one. We kind of knew where or what was going on. Um, where we're going with this, in my opinion, has to be mask versus mask. Is it going to happen at WrestleMania though? Will El Grande Americano, excuse me, it's morning, toffee latte. El Grande Americano and the OG Americano, will that be a WrestleMania match? And if it is, which Americano's mask is being ripped off? Do you want to see Chad Gable back as Chad Gable, or do you want to see Ludwig Kaiser as Ludwig Kaiser? Well, there you go. Your questions. It's up to you. The match itself should be actually really, really good between those two because both of those two are supremely talented in the ring. There is no doubt about that. I'll be looking forward to seeing that match, should that happen. Is it WrestleMania caliber? We've got 2 days to fill. My question, maybe to you guys, yeah, is should they do a men's night of WrestleMania and a women's night of WrestleMania? There you go. Why about have a night of the women and a night of the men? Granted, I know they'll be like, oh, they wouldn't sell the tickets, yada, 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 yada. Well, they're not selling the tickets right now anyway because they're too expensive. So there you go. It really doesn't matter, right? But it'd be an interesting way of looking at it, wouldn't it? Would they do that? I don't know. Um, One of my favorite parts of Raw this week wasn't even a match. It was just a fight between Obafemi and Rusev. I mean, Obafemi was throwing Rusev around like Rusev was a cruiserweight. Rusev was given as good as he's got, mind. It was just crazy. Rusev called out Obafemi. They brawled all over the place. I loved that. I thought that was great. It was another great outing for Obafemi. I think like what the WWE are doing a good job of doing with Obafemi is they're building him right. He isn't going in these matches. I mean, he had maybe I think he had a longer-ish one with Miz this week, maybe a bit too long on SmackDown. We don't get a chance to review SmackDown, unfortunately. Reasons for that, parental, of course, which is great because I love spending time with my boy. Um, Really a boy anymore. He's more of a man. But anyway. regardless of that. Um, they're building him in the right way as the Godzilla of the WWE. Um, maybe a bit too long of a match with the Miz, like I said, but they're doing this, and he's fun to watch. He is really fun to watch. I would like Obafemi as a heel, though. I think have him come out and destroy. I suppose the only thing about that is he would end up losing at some point. Whereas you need to keep, I think at the moment it's important to keep that man undefeated for a period of time. Don't know how long, but at least a good period of time for him to be undefeated. Yes, he'll obviously lose eventually, and he's a world champion. There is zero question that that man is a world champion in the making. And when? Let's give him some time. I think that's the idea. I know he was NXT champion. He doesn't need to win the championship straight away. Does he win Money in the Bank? I want Dirty Dom to win it personally, but there's an option there for him. I mean, he comes out and destroys people anyway, so why not have him win Money in the Bank? But yeah, this was just fun. This was a brawl in a way. He spine busted. Rusev walked away. We're obviously going to get a match. I think that may even been booked for next week. I'm not too sure. Rusev and Obafemi. I'm all here for it. I want to see it. It'll be great. It will be great. We mentioned about Jimmy Uso earlier, and I said about potentially the Usos going down the path of defending the tag titles against Austin Theory and Logan Paul. They did have a match. Jimmy Uso did win. It was Jimmy versus Austin Theory. It was a DQ on this. And of course, it was a DQ because Logan interfered. They beated him down. Out comes Jey Uso. So, looking at that and where that started, I would assume that they've been given a good indication that perhaps Seth Rollins is Braun Breaker is going to be okay for WrestleMania. Because otherwise, I feel as if they would have gone down the Seth Rollins, Logan Paul 2 route. But judging by that and what happened on Raw, I would have felt they'd have at least had a good indication that Braun would be ready for WrestleMania and Seth Rollins. I could be wrong on that. The only other thing, and he's not really in the vision, but and I know he may have already. I know he cashed in against Brock before, but does he go against Brock Lesnar? He's beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania before anyway, so throwing things out there, but I don't know on that. But yeah, this match was standard, funny stuff. But not standard funny, it's a fine TV match. What was funny, however, was after this. There was we got to tease a bit more Judgment Day stuff first. There was a bit out of the back with the Judgment Day. Finn, Dirty Dom was saying about his IC championship. He wants to make sure that Judgment Day have his back. Finn was a bit like, and in the end they was agreed on it. But there was tension again being teased. I don't think it's going to be long before this happens now. Anyway, I'll get to the point of what was funny. Adam Pearce was on the phone talking to Nick Aldis, I believe. Turns around and there is Danhausen. I can't do it, but I just trying to do what Ricky Stark's done every time. And I know you're going to get bored of it, but tough shit. With his listed demands, a blimp, a Hall of Fame induction this year, the finger point picture with Triple H and his face on all of the trucks. Adam Pearce was like, "Why is this paper wet?" And he was like, "Well, I dropped it in the toilet." And then the Judgment Day will pass. Adam Pearce was like, come here, meet Danhausen." And he said, "Oh, you're Finn, you're Dom, don't know who you are." And JD. JD didn't like him. Dominic, and then he went for touch Dominic's title. And Dominic was like, "This is the closest you're getting to the title." And then Danhausen, that's not, I'm not even cursing, right? But Danhausen puts him in a curse, which then leads lovely into Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. Banger, absolutely banger of this match. Brilliant. There was obviously, you know, a bit of interference from the Judgment Day. There was part of this where Dominic asked McDonough to give him the ring bell hammer Balor steps in and reminds him that Dominic wants to do this match himself, so he couldn't use the hammer. That allowed Penta to take advantage. He hits a dive onto the outside, and both of them comes in, walks into the trip. Dominic goes to hit him with a 619. He moves out of the way, plants him with a Mexican destroyer, and wins the Intercontinental Championship. Penta El Zero Miedo wins his first championship in the WWE. They love Penta. We love Penta. And it is great to see Penta El Zero Miedo um, win that Intercontinental Championship. He has been a real plus point. You know, a lot of them that have come up from AEW have kind of been going through, NXT, Ricky Starks, Ethan Page, Sean Spears is still down there. Obviously, Jade Cargill's come up. There's been a lot of controversy about her at the minute and a lot of stuff going on with her and some of the roster members. Even Piper Niven piped up and Chelsea Green and Rhea Ripley. Not sure like what's going on there. However, it doesn't look good in that sense. But anyway, point being is Penta. Look at Ray Fenix. He's been doing nothing really since coming back to WWE. Unfortunately, since coming back, since WWE signed him, he really hasn't, done anything of note on SmackDown. But Penta has been this big shining light on WWE and fully deserves the Intercontinental Championship. My prediction is WrestleMania, Finn Balor, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. That's where I think we're heading at WrestleMania. In my opinion, they kick Finn Balor out. Finn Balor starts a massive face run in the company again, and he goes on to face Dirty Dom at WrestleMania. Penta, on the other hand, I don't know who's going to beat him yet. Could be Obafemi eventually. Excuse me. But yeah, fantastic match. Really good match. Banger, banger, banger. I think many people expected Dominic to lose, but they ate it up when he lost after Danhausen cursed him. Which, look, Danhausen, there may have been a few boos in Chicago. He did sort of bring up that everyone cheered for him. To be fair, he did at the start. Um, but now he's cursed Dominic. The crowd ate that up, and a lot of people got cottoned onto it, and it was great to see. Uh, what's going to happen? I'm sure Danhausen will be on SmackDown this week as well. Right. It's time to acknowledge him, everybody. Your tribal chief is on Raw. He didn't get a chance to say anything because he was interrupted straight away by CM Punk. But Punk acknowledged Roman this week. He doesn't want to waste any time because the crowd have been a tweet. He's asked Reigns asked Punk if he's hurt Punk. Reigns asked if Punk's hurt his feelings. Punk is tired. He said because the tweet that Roman Reigns put out was at the end of Elimination Chamber was pretty much cool. Don't know who looks more tired, Punk or the crowd, after the match with Finn and Punk was like, "Yeah, I am tired because for the next 7 weeks I have to carry your bullshit." They they did put out a video package, like little clips of CM Punk's pipe bomb during Raw this week, and they this was just brilliant, and Reigns calls him a punk ass bitch. He's going to put, once he's finished with Punk, he's going to put him on one of those retirement tours like John Cena so they can money off him and then send him down to NXT so that he can send people up for Roman Reigns to acknowledge, for them to acknowledge Roman Reigns, basically to feed him to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns goes to leave. Punk pulls him back and basically says, "Who does he think he is?" He said, because now this is the thing. And this is another bit that I'm trying to get to. During this promo, Roman Reigns kept saying we. Now, Punk was like, well, who's we then? Have you got some more Samoan goblins in his pockets that they can't see? He indicates that Roman Reigns is alone. And he keeps, he's saying about you're going to retire me. Well, I'm going to bury you, and I'm going to bury you next to your father as that finished. It was just well, it was crazy. I mean, the end that last line was stiff as fuck. Reigns now has to kind of bite back at Punk. Could he mention Larry? Could he mention Colt Cabana? Could he mention the ill-fated AEW stuff? Who knows what he could do there? But if he's mentioned Roman's dead father, a la Christian Cage here, can Roman go about Larry? Because we all know that Punk doesn't have kids, but he had Larry the dog, and Larry the dog was his child, effectively. So that could be where he's at. But the other question is, who is we? Does Roman Reigns have somebody in, well, does Roman Reigns have somebody by his side that we don't know about? Is it Paul Heyman? We saw a silhouette behind CM Punk during his warm up at Elimination Chamber. Is it Paul Heyman? Is it The Rock? Don't want to throw it out there, but it could be. Could be The Rock, right? Who knows? But yeah, really good Raw this week. Much more like it for Monday Night Raw. Enjoyable on the road to WrestleMania. We're going to have a Roman rebuttal to that at some point, maybe as early as next week. I don't know. But we are officially on that road to WrestleMania. Not too long to wait. This coming Friday on SmackDown, it is the World Heavyweight Championship match. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Whoever wins that goes on to WrestleMania. Who is going to win it? We'll find out, guys, this coming Friday on SmackDown on Netflix over here in the UK. But coming up on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, we're sitting down with Ridge Holland. We'll be sitting down with C.W. Anderson, Eric Bischoff, and some other names coming up on the podcast as well. Another old school ECW name may be coming on the show. I'll leave it right there, but follow us at HTT Buckle everywhere. We'll be back later on, actually, with the NWA Power Hour review show. Me and Fiona Lockwood are back. We'll be sitting down and doing that later on as well. But until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.